Hey, welcome back to the Luke Deckard Show. I'm your host, Luke Deckard. I got a bunch of things to talk about tonight. I say a bunch. I got a couple. It's been a weird week. Last week, if you remember, I did two shows last week. Last week, the one of the shows I talked about was there was some drama going on in the publishing industry. So I wanted to talk about that for a little bit. So I did that last week, where debut authors were the bookseller were did a survey where a bunch of debut authors were crying about how awful their publishing experience was, and I wanted to talk about whether their cries were justified or not. And I think we came to the conclusion that honestly, yes, most of their cries were justified. Not all. Some things were a little over the top, far fetched, but most of it was I think justified. Um, and since then, we now have a writer's strike going on in the U.S. The Writers Guild of America have decided to go on strike because they aren't getting enough money, and this will cause a lot of trouble for future release dates of different shows and films and things like that. This will have a big knock-on effect. Um, and yeah, so that's what I want to get into. I want to chat a little bit about that. There's one particular thing in relation to the drama with the writer strike that I'm particularly interested in, and that is surrounding AI, the artificial intelligence stuff. So yeah, I just want to. This won't be. I don't think this is going to be a long show, but yeah, just thought I'd hop on and share my thoughts because at the moment, and if you don't know, my wife is pregnant, but she's not had the baby yet, so it's due any minute, any second, and I've decided to not have regular shows this month or booked shows this month, which will probably screw the algorithm, but I don't care. Um, so I'm doing ad hoc shows, whatever topic I fancy. Um, so yeah, where should where should we begin? Where should we begin? Okay. Yeah, I need to move this. I'm not going to share my screen. I could share my screen, but I'm not gonna. Um, Let me put this here. Let me put that there. Yeah. So I don't know if anyone remembers the writer strike back in 2007, um, or if you were even alive for that. That was Yeah, I remember the writer strike in 2007 really well. Um, there were a bunch of shows at that time I was following, shows I've been following for several years, and I was deeply invested in. So things like The Office, Smallville, other things. There's my weekly Smallville reference. But yeah, the writer strike in 2017 was a real shit show. Basically, what the writers wanted. Uh, they weren't happy with the fact that at that point in time, DVD sales were huge. That was the big rise of box sets, right? Sure, back in the past, you could buy the occasional, VHS and fill up your entire house with VHSs, or you can reduce half of that and have a bunch of nice slim DVDs. Um, so that was all over the place. Everything was coming out on DVD. Everything from really old things like the Brady Bunch and Star Trek to brand new stuff like whatever was out at the time, Smallville, Scrubs, Heroes, all that kind of stuff. You could every September the latest season was coming out on DVD right as the new season was about to begin. It was great. Um, but the problem is writers weren't getting any sort of royalty from these sales, from these DVD sales. So basically, just studios were raking in a bunch of money, and writers like, hold on a second, why are you not sharing some of this with us? Like, this is our work that you are continuing to monetize, but you know, there was nothing in their initial at the contracts at the time to, you know, take in DVD sales into account, all that sort of stuff. So there was I think it was like 100-day writer strike. It lasted forever, ruined a bunch of shows. One of the worst was Scrubs. The Scrubs was meant to end on, I don't remember the number of the season, but Scrubs was meant to end that year. And it had a really short season, and the finale was, I mean, it was terrible. If I remember right, it was some sort of like weird fairy tale. Dr. Cox told some weird fairy tale to his son, and it was just really weird and wasn't funny and wasn't good. It was so bad that I think they ordered, yeah, they ordered another season to give Scrubs a proper finale because it was so terrible. Um, but there we are. One of the other big failures of the writer's strike, direct result of the writer's strike, was the next Bond film. So you had Casino Royale, which came out in 2006, and they were following that up with Quantum of Solace, which at the time I was super excited for. I wanted to see Quantum of Solace because I really liked Casino. I really liked Daniel Craig in the role as Bond, and I was like, all right, let's see where this goes next. And boy, I mean, your big villain's plan is he's going to raise the price of water, and it's all a bit nonsense, and it's weird because Quantum of Solace was much shorter. I think it's like an hour and 40 minutes. I think it's the shortest of Daniel Craig's, but my god, does it feel like the long. You know what, I was going to say it feels like the longest, but that I don't believe that anymore because his last two are, I want to say his last two are worse than Quantum of Solace. This is, but that's a topic for another day. But at the time there was no other Bond films, right? So Quantum of Solace came out, and it was a jarbled mess. Nothing made sense. The villains were so weak and boring. It was just it was such a shit show, and it was a shit show because of the writer's strike, um, because they were filming the movie without a completed script, which is already a terrible idea. Anytime I hear about a film that is going into production, they're starting filming, they don't have a completed script, I'm already like, that's gonna be shit. Um, which is unfortunately what happened with Quantum Solace. It was absolutely terrible because they were literally just making stuff up as they go. And Daniel Craig is famous for saying that, yeah, we were just, you know, we were just seeing what was happening, and as we go. But he's like, you know, I'm not a writer, and we were just making. I was writing scenes, but I'm not a writer. So who am I to be doing this? And he was absolutely right. So now, what's the big issue now? I'll tell you. I need a drink of water. The big issue now is that the Writers Guild of America are headbutting with the Alliance of Motion Pictures and Television Producers. Um, that organization reps the big boys: Amazon, Disney, Netflix, Paramount, all those people. Um, and they're basically saying, look, you know, we need, you know, you need to increase our wages. Like back in 2007 when DVDs were the big thing, that needed to be monetized, and or that needed royalties needed to be paid out to writers and other people involved with the production of those shows and films. Now, streaming is the new thing. Streaming is the next beast that has been sort of a wild west for however many years, since sort of 2012, 2013, when it just was throwing content out there, but in terms of royalties, writers and people weren't getting money in return for this kind of just continuous streaming of their work. And it doesn't help that all this time all the major streamers keep their numbers hidden. You know, we don't. No one seems to really know what Netflix, what their numbers are, what their viewing numbers are. You know, with the how much money these we have ideas of how much money some of their shows make, but we don't really have a solid figure. It's masked and hidden for some weird reason. I'm kind of like, surely just for business transparency, that stuff should be public. You should be, you know, forced to divulge this information. So it's weird. It's weird that they don't. It's weird that they don't. But hopefully that would change. So anyway, the Writers Guild of America have been in discussion with the Alliance, motion picture and television producers, putting forward some things that they think they deserve, some things that they deserve. And I'm, some of them I think are absolutely, honestly, absolutely spot on. Someone did share it on Twitter. So I will actually pull that up, and show you that, because why not? Why not? Okay, because this is kind of where I will go off on some of my tangents. Let me share the screen. That's what I want. That's what I want. That's what I want. And boom. Okay, you can see all my other tabs, but that's all right. Although I could, what can I do? Let's pull that out. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Hang on a second. Boop, boop, doop, boop, boop. That was my Twitter. That was my Twitter, but I don't care. Let me go back to this. 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 If you're listening to this on Spotify, sorry about you. You should have watched it live. You should have watched it live. Hey, I want my TV now is in the chat. Mr. Frank. Frank, how are ya? How's it going? Ba-da, do, do, boop. Water. Okay. So this is the deal. This is what's going on with the old these are like kind of the main talking points that the Writers Guild of America put forward, saying this is what we want, and that's everything that is on the left, and all of the rejections are on the right. Every point rejected. Frank is asking what's going on. Frank, what's going on is I'm talking about the writer's strike. Talking about the writer's strike going on in America with the Writers Guild of America. And I'm talking about artificial intelligence when it comes to writing scripts for scripts and books. What's the complications? What's the drama relating to scripts being written by AI? Should we allow it? Shouldn't we allow it? Because it's a topic that comes up in the features that the Writers Guild of America put in their demands, saying that they don't want it in there at all. So we'll get to that. So yeah, so some of this stuff is pretty simple stuff. And I mean, I got to tell you, as a professional writer, someone who tries to make a living being a writer, it's not easy. It's unstable, and it can be quite hellish. And what a lot of the writers are doing, part of the reason why they're striking now, is because they really want to improve their working conditions. Their working conditions are not great. The instability is really bad. They want to be able to feel like they have reliable work, and sort of eradicate what is called the gig culture. So you have a temporary gig, but when that ends, you don't know what's coming next, or you don't know how long you're going to be on a particular quote gig that that you have at the moment. It's all very unstable and uncertain, and it's really not fun for anybody. So one of the most interesting things in this list of requirements, or things that they would like, is this pre-greenlit rooms, which what a lot of people call mini rooms. And basically what a mini room is in Hollywood, it's a mini writer's room. It's basically 3 or so people who will probably be running the show, come together to spend a short period of time breaking the show, So figuring out what the season's going to look like, what the episodes are going to look like, what the story arcs are going to be, what the character, for all the characters, all that sort of stuff. That's what the mini room is. And this mini room is meant to be you bring a few people together. They break ground on this what say it's TV show, and then from that mini room, it will then be decided if that show goes forward or not. Um, Now the problem with that is, um, so much of the work is getting done in this time. It's a very short period of time where there is very very little return, but it also excludes younger writers, and I don't mean younger in age. I mean just younger in skill and experience, from being able to sit in on this and learn and develop their own skills. So one of the things they're asking for in this, which I think makes total sense to me, is that yeah, basically what they want is they want yeah. So the post greenlit rooms, that's post greenlit. So the post yeah. So in the pre greenlit rooms, a minimum of 6 staff, including four writer producers. So they want to boost that up a little bit, but the Alliance of Motion Pictures refused that one, which is just mind blowing to me. It's mind blowingly stupid. Um, in the post greenlit room, so that's once the mini room has been approved for the next big, they want one writer per episode, um, for up to six episodes, and one additional writer required for each 2 episodes. After 6, up to a max of 12 writers. That makes sense to me. The more episodes you have, the more writers you're going to need. So, for example, 8 episodes requires 7 writers, including 4 writer producers. 10 episodes requires 8 writers, including 5 writer producers. Again, that makes total sense because it's when you're producing scripts for film and television, it's a multifaceted. It's not just one. It's not necessarily just one person's story and deal, right? There's a lot of different factors, a lot of different people involved with getting this thing produced and written. um so this makes total sense. And also in terms of time frame, it's unless you have everything written in advance, which a lot of streaming shows will, nowadays, you still need time to go back and focus on everything, get everything up to scratch. So this requirement made total sense to me, and the fact that they rejected it is total, in my opinion, it's total BS. It's quite insulting. It's like, look, they're not really. This isn't asking for a lot. You're asking for eight episodes, 7 people, including 4 writer producers. 10 episodes, 8 people plus 5. You're not asking for a lot, but they seem to think that this is too much, which is just ridiculous. The other thing that was, as I was kind of saying earlier, about stability, right? In these pre-greenlit rooms, they, in terms of duration of employment, they want minimum staff guarantee, at least 10 consecutive weeks of work. 10 weeks of work is not a long time, is it? It's if you're being asked to, hey, we want you to come in and break ground on this idea, da 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 da, we'll pay you to do it. Well, you want to be know that you're going to be employed for at least more than a month, so that you know that you're at least going to be able to pay your bills for a month. So I think 10 consecutive weeks makes sense. If you're breaking ground on something, it takes time. And 10 weeks is not a lot, but if you're doing that day in and day out for 10 weeks, you can probably get a lot of work done in that period. But you need a specific amount of time to make it worthwhile. 10 weeks makes total sense. Rejected. Total nonsense. The way companies work and the way production companies work, they really expect you to produce an insane amount of work for under with a very very limited time budget. There is such little respect for what a writer actually has to do, and also bearing in mind, some writers will write to different speeds than others, and when you're not even given, a minimum of of 10 weeks to break something, and you're like, oh, they're what? So they want it, and they want to guarantee what, less than 10 weeks worth of work. So that means you could be working what, for three days, 1 week. What? It's absolute nonsense. Um, so the pre and then the pre green pre post sorry post green lit rooms, the writers on staff must get at least 3 weeks per episode, up to a max of 52 weeks. Um, I mean, 3 weeks to produce an episode. That seems reasonable to me. Absolutely. Like I said, I've been in situations where you're given, can you produce something by the end of the day? And I'm like, fuck you, what? And then you do it, and then they don't give a shit. They don't thank you. They just take it and go. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. Thank you for that. I'm glad I busted my ass and my fingers are bleeding. Um, yeah, and then half of the minimum staff must be employed throughout production. One writer must be employed through post. These are really basic things. Like I said, it is shocking to me that these really simple ideas, and requests have been totally rejected by the alliance. I absolutely get why everyone who is a member is furious, and it really does feel like a slap in the face, when you consider how much money these companies are making, how much money the heads of the companies of these studios are making. It's absolutely insane because they're not asking for much. They're asking for, I think it's three, what, 2 or 3% of the streaming profits. It's hardly a lot. So to be completely shunned is really quite ridiculous. Okay, so the thing that I really want to talk about, that's kind of the setup, right? So that's why everyone's mad. That's why they're picketing and striking, right? Makes total sense. But there's something here that really struck a chord, and it's the very last one, um, and that is the artificial intelligence. And so the Frank says, "Talk about the thing you want to talk about." I am. I'm talking about it now. Talking about it now. I wanted to talk about all this, but I needed the setup. What struck a chord? So the artificial intelligence did, because it says the Writers Guild of America say they want regulate the use of artificial intelligence. AI can't write or rewrite literary material, can't be used as source material, and MBA covered material can't be used to train AI. So essentially, they don't want their material to be used to train future AI to say, write a script like, okay, season 3, episode 2 of Succession. Write a script like that, but set in X and X environment, right? They don't want someone to be able to do that. That makes sense, because in a way, you're not really getting paid for that, because essentially what would happen is the artificial intelligence will be a program that the studios own, with your ideas, your information in it, and they can just mine that for themselves without reimbursing you for anything. um, Now the wider question with that is, well, isn't that just what art does anyway? And to some instances, yes. There's plenty of films that and TV shows and books that homage and pay respects to others who come before them. They will take small ideas from a lot of different places, and put it into their own thing that becomes the next new thing. Um, the thing is with that is there's human effort going into that there's not just a bit of computer code pulling things and just regurgitating some sort of soulless imitation of 30 or 40 different other things to produce something that is, like I said, soulless. um Again, the other thing, I not being able to use AI to write or rewrite literary material, I think is very, very crucial, because really, what's it's really common, particularly in film and television, for you to, hey Biffer, how's it going? Welcome to the show. Um, it's really common in film and television to uh you have a writer. A film will begin, and it will be person X is writing the first draft, first treatment. By the time the film comes out, it might have had four other writers, 12 rewrites, and then the final name on the final product is not the person who started the project. Um, and therefore it's like, well, so who really gets credit? And what can happen is that initial person has been they're so far down the chain that, in terms of monetary reimbursement, in terms of royalties, they might not be um, entitled to any. Um, More on this, if you go back to one of my really, really early shows, I did an episode with the original screenwriter of Tron, who talks a little bit about their experience being with that film, and these sort of complications. I need to take a drink of water. Tron, yes, Tron. Tron. What was I gonna say? So yeah, so it's I totally get that, because the problem is if you have if you allow AI to then write and rewrite, well, if you rewrite it enough, if you rewrite it enough times, when does it stop being the original writer's work, and when can the studio say, well, you didn't technically write this, you wrote 4 drafts ago, but you didn't write this. And oh yeah, coincidence, Tron is AI, it's artificial intelligence, isn't it? It's all full circle, it's all full flipping circle. um but yeah, what do you do then? The studio has the ability to say, hey, you didn't write this, we're not going to pay you. You actually don't You're not entitled to royalties, because we've doctored it so many times, and therefore they are able to get away with not paying. That is essentially what, from my understanding, what could happen. And I would I totally get why they're like, no, just take AI out of the equation. Because at the moment, I mean, really, AI, there are some really interesting AI things out there. There is some interesting AI art out there. Um, but most of it is odd and inhuman, bizarre, and superficial. It's just it's just prompts plugged in to that are then the AI just mines what it knows to kind of pick and choose from things, and throws things together. It it will never in my opinion, what we have at the moment, at least, is not good enough, and will not fool should not fool general audiences. It's too cheap, I think. It's too shallow. And the thing is you can plug in all sorts of ideas, and it might be able to produce something of a okay quality, a very basic generic quality, but it doesn't have that human experience, right? That human, which is what good storytelling, which is what good art requires. If you don't have the human experience, how can you actually produce art? You can't. It's just not gonna happen. Um, so, because this is also a big thing within just the general sort of literary community as well. Um, Let me find what I want to talk about. Oh yeah. So actually, back just keeping on the AI stuff as well. I'll talk about the book world in a minute. Okay, so yeah, Frank, he says Luke plus Deckard plus Show plus Flash plus Ezra. Yeah, someone go plug that into AI and see what comes up. It's going to be a horror show. That's what comes up. Obviously, I've been following things on Twitter. I've been following what people are saying about the writer strike, and there's some people that are being a little bit cheeky and implying that applying the screenwriters that things like Chat GPT is able to write better scripts than what most Hollywood writers are. And this is complicated because while it's funny and at times feels true, there's also a lot of factors that aren't being taken into account. And I mean, yes, there's been a lot of stuff that's come out lately in the last, well, I say lately, been a lot of things in the past 10 years that have been the big pop culture things that in my opinion, have sucked. I, I mean, I rewatched the other day Avengers Endgame. Watched it with riff tracks because they have the commentary track, the comedy track, and so they're obviously riffing on the film the whole time and making fun of it. And I think this is maybe the third time I'd seen Endgame, and I tell you, every time I see it, I like it less and less. It's not interesting. It's not good. It's really boring. It's way too long. It's just playing. It's basically it's really no different than someone saying than plugging in Back to the Future 2 meets Avengers. Enter. Because that's essentially all it is. The film makes a bunch of stupid references about how well, this isn't Back to the Future logic, while the whole time the film uses Back to the Future logic. And it's quite infuriating. It really is. Um, and yeah, Frank just mentioned in the chat that Iron Man was released 15 years ago. 15 years ago, Iron Man came out. Iron Man is that's a great movie. The MCU started off so great with Iron Man, a solid hero's journey, a man who learns to have a heart, who takes responsibility for his actions, who does the right thing, who is a hero. By Endgame, Iron Man's a jackass. I don't want to do the right thing because I don't want to give up the family. When in reality, his journey should have absolutely been, in order to save Natasha, he should have made everyone go back 5 years and stop that Thanos from 5 years ago from doing the snap. That's what should have happened. The fact that he didn't do that and refused to do that because he couldn't give up, because he couldn't sacrifice his family. It was just like, yeah, you've learned nothing. You've learned nothing, Iron Man. And it's weak. It's weak and it's lame. It's bad. It's bad storytelling. It's bad storytelling. So and then you look at things like the Star Wars sequel trilogy that came out. Every single one of those is awful. There's nothing redeeming about them. And you're looking at these movies and you're saying, okay, well, this, JJ wrote the first one, with Lawrence Kasdan. Brian Johnson wrote the second one. JJ and a bunch of other people wrote the third one. And you're like, how can all of these be misfires? How can every single one be a misfire? You've given this person all this time, all this money to write a story, and it sucks miserably. Why? And it could be a number of factors. It could be that, well, J.J. Abrams cannot write science fiction. I've never enjoyed his stuff, from the first Star Trek movie to Super 8. He's been nothing but imitation. He's basically artificial intelligence. He is the human AI. He just does nothing but imitate other people's work and produces nothing original. When people are sitting here complaining about AI, or Chat GPT writing your stories, and then being like, yeah, but look at what Hollywood is producing. You sort of get it. You sort of get why they're making these connections, because so much of it is terrible. But then when you look at other elements and you're like, okay, well, some of these people aren't, that you're not given a lot of time to produce the stuff. You're given a very short window, and what do you do with that? You have to churn out the best thing you can under a really short period of time, and that's going to be very difficult, isn't it? Of course it will. Um, so I totally get some of the flack, but the other thing to remember is there is there are things out there outside of the trashy pop culture films that are excellent, where you can see that intelligent writers are behind it. We're currently watching 12 Monkeys. It's a had not the Bruce Willis film, and not the original film, the French film from way back when, but the Terry Matalas show ran for 4 seasons on Sci-Fi. It's a really really cool time travel story, and it's great. And we're like 3 or 4 episodes into season one, and again, you can tell that this is being written by intelligent people. You can tell there's been a lot of thought and effort put into it. It's not just kind of hokey, jokes and trying to cover up bad storytelling by being silly in the way that, say, Avengers Endgame did. Um, or you can watch other things, like things like what else is good out there? I don't know. There's lots of other good things out there, but you know, Succession, for example, that's an incredible show. At least the first 2 seasons, in my opinion, are incredible. Um, Absolutely love that. Or Perry Mason, or the House of the Dragon. House of the Dragon versus Rings of Power, which I did some reviews of that last year, and we'll probably do them again whenever the shows come back out. But that's a really good example of you can tell here when we bring House of the Dragon that the writers put a lot of effort into their storytelling. They made sure that what they were doing was great character driven stuff. Whereas you look at the Rings of Power, and it's just nonsense. It's not Tolkien. It's just ridiculous action, ridiculous sort of wistful thinking. It's and you can't engage with it. You can't connect with anything in that show because it feels hollow, because people are doing and acting in ways that aren't how people act. And so it's a bit like a lot of those. It's a bit like a lot of the J.J. Abrams like TV shows, things like, what does he have? Lost, and I think he's did he do Fringe? I think he did Fringe. But there's this whole set of American TV shows where it's just nothing but like you have this action and this serious drama, but everything is just undercut with jokes, 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 jokes. Everything's quirky and fun. And where we've someone recently mentioned us that we should watch The Mentalist. And I've never watched it, so we've been watching it because I think it's on Amazon Prime at the moment, and I hate it. I can't get into it because it's like it's your typical kind of police drama with a guy with superpowers, the mentalist, who's always he's a mentalist, so he can read people really well and get them to do things and get them to expose their secrets. And he's basically just a guy, but he's also acting like he has a superpower, and he's constantly smirking and quippy and just like, this is I'm sick of it. I hate that kind of stuff. Um, I could go on with all the things that I dislike, but the point that I'm trying to make is, I get why people are like, look, yeah, but I get why writers don't want ChatGPT to be used, but actually look at what's being produced at the moment. It's not great. It's not great. Um, you know, and there was someone on Twitter. I saved their thing. Um, I won't say who these people are. Um, Oops, there we go. Where are we at here? Yeah, this is it. Yeah, so one individual was saying essentially, what's the difference between soulless output of AI and the standard Hollywood quote development process? When by the end of the process, when the film or show is released, what bit of originality was there is now extracted for, because producer says so. But the thing to remember is like, look, sometimes the writer isn't at fault. Sometimes the person at fault are the dickhead producers. I think Blade Runner is one of the best examples. Ridley Scott had his vision. He knew what he wanted to do with Blade Runner, but every single producer thought they knew better. And he had to juggle all of these egos who were saying, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do this. And he's like, I don't want to do any of this shit. I don't want to have Harrison Ford do a voiceover. And if you ever go in and watch the theatrical cut of Blade Runner, Harrison Ford's voiceover is awful. You can tell he's so bored. He doesn't want to be there. He doesn't want to be doing it, because it just doesn't work, you know. And that's not a fault of on the writers of Blade Runner. That's the fault of the producers forcing crap into a story that doesn't belong. Um, so this is where you kind of have to. There should be more sympathy for writers. Um, Frank in the chat says, "Have you mentioned Star Trek yet? You got to name all the IPs." I don't. I haven't mentioned Star Trek. I mean, I could talk Star Trek, but I don't. I haven't mentioned Star Trek. Oh, I could. I'll talk about Star Trek Picard. Star Trek Picard is a really great series. I really enjoyed series 3 of Picard. Seasons 1 and 2 are absolutely terrible. I do not like them. I've never liked them, and I'm currently trying to watch Star Trek Discovery. I watched the first 2 seasons ages ago, and I'm trying to pick up with season 3. I was told, give it a go. It finds itself in season 3, and I'm 3 episodes in, and all I want to do is throw my iPad out the window because the writing is so bad. Not only is the writing bad, the acting is bad, and in my opinion, it just gets Star Trek wrong. It just gets it wrong, and maybe I could do a whole episode on my experience watching season 3, but I don't even know if I'm going to be able to finish it. But I genuinely have struggled immensely watching it. I'm screaming at the iPad the entire time. It's on because there's just people are doing and saying things that are so not in line with what you would expect. And that was my problem with seasons 1 and 2, and why I stopped watching all those years ago, because I thought, hey, this isn't for me. I'm not enjoying it. I'm not going to torture myself. But a friend was like, give it a go. It gets better. I was like, okay, we'll give it a go. And it hasn't. But again, it's the problem is I don't even want to say, I'm going to give the writers the benefit of the doubt and say, maybe they're not bad writers. Maybe they're just the wrong writers for the show. And I don't mean that to be offensive, but I know full well that if someone, as much as I love science fiction, if someone told me to write a science fiction book or write an episode of Star Trek, I'm pretty sure I would suck at it. Because despite understanding the world decently, and understanding the characters mostly from, I don't know if I would be the right person to write one of their stories. If someone commissioned, hey, write a Star Trek book, I would love that, but I don't know if I have that particular skill. Now, something more in line with Blade Runner, I could probably, that would be more my cup of tea. So, give me an Odo episode. I could probably write a good Odo episode because I like the crime. Odo's my guy with the crime stuff, being the chief, the head of security on Deep Space Nine. Totally, I can totally do that. So yeah, so it's a really complicated thing because I get why people hate, or hate's a strong word. I need to stop using hate, as Frank mentioned the other day. I get why people dislike certain things, like certain Star Trek shows and things like that. Or there's a lot of the new Star Wars movies, or even shows, the Marvel shows, Loki. I mean, god awful. It's god awful writing. Absolutely terrible. It's, you watch these shows and you think, have screenwriters forgotten how to write? And then you have to factor in a bunch of other things that are going on. It might not be just the writers. It can also be the producers involved. It can also be just a poorly structured show. I mean, I can't remember if it was Red Letter Media or someone, but I've also said this myself, that you watch some of these streaming shows and they blatantly have a plot that is basically meant for a 2-hour movie or maybe 4 or 5 episodes, and then they will stretch it out over 10 episodes, and you're left sort of bored. There's Mandalorian, as I reviewed last week, is a really good example of this, where there's just artificial drama being injected every few seconds to pause the momentum of the story. So while it pauses for action sequence, that action sequence has nothing to do with progressing the story. And you're left there thinking, why am I watching this action sequence? It's kind of cool, but it has nothing to do with the plot. It's not getting me where I want to go. It's not getting the Mandalorian where he wants to go. It's not getting Bo-Katan where she wants to go. It's not getting Grogu where he wants to go. It's just, you're just stuck waiting to move on. And it's painful, and I think it's potentially growing pains of understanding how to blend episodic TV, that you would get back in the day with this season long story arc, because there seems to be this idea of wanting to attempt to do episodic stuff, but also have the bigger picture. And I mean, the models are out there. I think the best show recently that managed episodic adventures with a nice series arc was the show Wednesday. Now, it would be great if Jenna Ortega would just stop, just stop. She's trashing. I mean, she's already trashed the writers in public. She's trashed the showrunners in public, and it's like, you need to not do that. Like, this is just so unprofessional, because you didn't. You might be the star of the show, but you aren't the show. So just stop it. Just stop it. Because, well, she said something else recently that was rather, how should we say, immature. Let me see if I can find it. I know this is gonna upset you, Frank, because I know Frank. He loves his Jenna Ortega, and she's a fine actress. She's a fine actress. She can't be stopped. It's true. She can't be stopped. She is just on a roll. Where the bleep is it? Ah, here we go. Oh yeah, this yeah, she was quote someone yeah, I was looking at discussing film on Twitter, and pull it up, Jamie. Pull it up. She was saying, where was it? Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, so she was, I can't think of any other Latina character that has the reach that Wednesday has. Most Latina roles are stereotypical: the daughter of the cartel and the housekeeper. And at some point, you just want to pull your hair out, and I'm sure the producers of the show, the creators of the show, are probably doing that and screaming, "Please shut up!" Um, because honestly, my response to that was like, take the narcissism down a notch. Just because you, Jenna, cannot think of other characters that are Latina that have a big reach or a big pull, doesn't mean they don't exist, and doesn't mean that they haven't existed. It's very easy for an individual to just be like, oh well, because I've never seen it, then it just must not exist. Well, that's just being ignorant. So stop it. I hate it. I hate it so much. When crap like that happens, it's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. Anywho, and then let me see, someone else made an interesting point, and it's like, yes, there are shallow movies out there are shallow TV shows out there, right? um but the problem is there are other writers out there who genuinely understand the craft, who are producing incredible work, and they don't deserve to be roped in with the garbage. um I posed the question earlier today on my Twitter. And this is quite funny, and I will share these with you in a second. Some things. So I asked writers, for books and scripts, what are your worries? What are your worries with AI? Um, and what do we know? Well, it's a mixed bag. Some one friend of mine was absolutely hates it. He'll said he would never read anything AI produced, and would look down on anyone who does. And I can't say I disagree with that. Um, I have no interest in it, but at the same time, I'm not gonna. I also don't actively go out and try and watch stupid things. Um, another writer, was a bit more optimistic. Thinks believes that there is a way of sort of, um, sees how human and AI storytelling can be used to help out. The AI can be used as a tool to help the writer out, but not to replace the writer. And I think there might be something with that. I think that's a that is it is possible. The problem obviously what's going on with the Writers Guild of America is that, you know the writer might be allowed to throw in a prompt for, say, inspiration's sake. But you don't want you don't want the studios or the publishers or an editor to be able to use AI to then rewrite your work, because it is your work, and you should be the one who has a say of what is changed and what isn't changed. And also, like I said, if it's changed enough, then a studio, in theory, I think, could be able to say, this isn't your work anymore. It's the work of, you know ChattyBot, and screw you. You're not going to get paid. Um, because the thing is, what yeah. So one of my friends also thinks that is possible, and maybe it is. Maybe that is the way it will go. Not sure. But where is his other comment? Yeah. Anyway, he made a joke about, like, the Fast and the Furious films being, basically being garbage. And using, fine use using they're kind of no different than AI, because they're so blandly generic. And I sort of kind of agree with that. I mean, they aren't really the creme de la creme, are they? They're just really quite pathetic. Um, Yeah, yeah. Oh, this is it. Yeah, he says, yeah, this is it. He goes, yeah, found it. So his argument was that, in terms of AI, as I've said, isn't human, so it will never be able to have the human experience and be able to relate human experiences in an authentic way. And that's sort of what he was saying. He goes, but AI could have written the Fast and the Furious, maybe. And this was funny to me, because I was like, you know what, I'm gonna put in prompts, and so I did some prompts. I did some prompts for Fast and the Furious, um, because I thought, you know what, why the hell not? Why the hell not? Where are they? Um, Here we go. Here we go. Okay, I'll pull it up, Jamie. Pull it up, Jamie. Pull it up, Jamie. 1 second. Um, where are we? Okay, stop that. Is that it? After what I want? Oh, I hope that's what I want. Is it? Yeah, I think it is. Let's see. Is that it? Yeah, this is it. This is it. Okay. So I basically put in a prompt, and I was like, I want to know, this is Bard. So this is Google's AI. This is Google's AI. I said, give me hypothetical Fast and Furious. Give me hypothetical ideas for the Fast and Furious films 11 through 20. Um, and so it came up with some really insane stuff. That as I was reading, I was like, you know what? I think every single one of these could probably happen with this franchise. And you have Fast and the Furious 11, the final ride. The Fast and Furious crew is back for one last ride, even though there's 7 more films coming. This time they're facing off against a new threat, a powerful international crime syndicate that's planning to use a new type of weapon to take over the world. The crew must use all their skills and resources to stop them before it's too late. I mean, come on. That literally sounds like a Fast and Furious film, but it also sounds stupid. Um, and then okay, then I'm gonna jump down to Fast and Furious 15, where the um oh, actually, hang on. Then you got 14, right? Fast and Furious is called The Reboot. The Fast and Furious franchise is rebooted with a new cast of characters and a new story. This time, the focus is on a group of young street racers who are trying to make a name for themselves in the world of illegal street racing. But when they cross paths with a powerful crime syndicate, they soon find themselves in over their heads. Then Fast and Furious 15 is called The Future, where the Fast and Furious franchise takes a leap into the future with a new installment. In the year 2042, the world is a very different place. Technology has advanced to the point where cars now fly, and street racing has become a global phenomenon. But when a new threat emerges, it's up to the new generation of Fast and Furious heroes to save the day. I mean, honestly, you're reading these and it's like they're all dog shit, but I could see it happening. I could see all of this shit happening. And the funny thing about these prompts are not the prompts, but what was spat out by AI is I can absolutely see some thick headed producer pulling up this page and being like or typing this in and giving it to a a showrunner or a producer of some kind and being like, can you make this happen? Can you make this? Can you make? I really want to see this Fast and Furious in the future. I think this year 2042 sounds real cool. Let's do it. Cars can fly. People like that. We've never seen that before. It's just stupid. It's just stupid. But I could see it happening. Um, but then I did it again. I did it again. Did it again, Johnny. With I did it again with Toy Story, and it was really funny. So I'm gonna show you Toy Stories. I'm gonna show you Toy Stories. Um, let's see, where is that? Let me share screen, Windows. I believe it's this one. Yeah, this one's great. These story ideas cracked me up because it just gets so ridiculous by the end. Absolutely ridiculous. I loved it. So, Toy Story 5 is called The Search for Woody. I think they're already doing this film, which is ridiculous, but anyway, Toy Story 5 I think is coming out. But in this one, Woody is lost and alone in the world and has been separated from his friends and family. He doesn't know where he is. Woody must find his way. He must find a way to get back to them, but that won't be easy. He'll face danger and adventure along the way, but he's determined to find his way home. That's really basic. That's super bland. Um, but it's kind of the germ of an idea that could be extrapolated by a writer, and something could in theory be done with that. But it's still kind of like, whatever. I've had enough Toy Story, but still. So Toy Story 6 is weird because what Bard spat out was literally the plot of Toy Story 1. And that is Bonnie gets a new toy and Woody feels threatened. But then Woody realizes that the new toy isn't bad after all, and they become friends. So it's like, well, that's Toy Story 1. The idea for 7 was that the toys are in danger. Evil toys have kidnapped them. Well, that's more or less what happened in Toy Story 3. And Woody was kind of held hostage in Toy Story 2 a little bit. And then then it just loses its mind. Its AI just totally lost its goddamn mind. Where Toy Story 8 is called The Time Travel Adventure, which is obviously a terrible name. But Woody and the gang go on a time travel adventure. They travel back in time to meet their younger selves. what does that mean? Their younger selves? What Woody's gonna go back to the 1930s? What? 1960s? Whenever Woody was around? Like that's his younger self. And they even meet some of their favorite characters from the past. What favorite characters are from the past that they want to meet? I have no idea what that would even be. But when they get to the present, they find that things have changed. The toys must use their knowledge of the past to save the future. That cracked me up because I'm just like, we've now gone from like, I don't know, we've gone from kind of typical basic Toy Story plots to insane time travel. But then the last one is insane. The final chapter, Toy Story 9, the final chapter. The toys are facing their biggest challenge yet. They must save the world from an evil force that is threatening to destroy everything. Woody and Buzz must lead their friends into battle, into a battle for the ages. They must use all their strength and courage to save the day. I don't even know what was going on with this. It's absolute madness. But my point of putting all this crap into Bard, into AI is to be like, look, there's nothing really in this that is of great quality. This is all really basic, boring, bland, ridiculous suggestions that are being spat out here. Things that just wouldn't work. And correct. So the point is that just AI isn't great. And I mean, maybe in the future, maybe if artificial intelligence becomes sentient and it can, it becomes like data, maybe. But at the same time, it's even if it does become quote sentient, like what does that mean? Who knows? I mean, I feel like we've seen enough AI stuff out there. I think we've seen enough AI science fiction movies and books. 2 years from now, it'll look like Brent Spiner. Yes, it will look just like Data. There will be a real life Data. But you mentioned Data, but even Data, it's like he's not real. He's trying. He's trying, and he's quite lifelike. But he's ultimately just a big machine. Who can, I don't know, imitate humans really well. He's just a really good imitator, but he's not human. He doesn't know what laughter is or sadness or anything like that. So he can imitate art, but he can't imitate the human experience. And I think that's one of the big things that there's if you look at anywhere, you look at the Writers Guild, you look at the Society of Authors, most writer organizations and unions are very much worried about the future of AI because you can go onto Amazon right now and you can find 200 or more ebooks that are all ChatGPT written. That ChatGPT is a credited author on a number of books, and you have this sort of lunacy out there where there are some people who are thinking, oh, I want to go write a book, so I'm just going to put some information to ChatGPT. And then people are bragging about how they wrote a book in a day. They wrote a book and published it in a day. Oh, look at how much time I saved. Yeah, well, your story's dog shit. So what does that say? You're just some idiot who threw some prompts into an AI and you produced a mediocre piece of shit story that you've put on Amazon and has 2-star reviews because people reading it know that it's crap. And I mean, what do you do in the future when there are AI generated films? There was that film going around Twitter, not film, but a clip going around Twitter that was like sort of Gatsby inspired. And some of it looked, if you weren't paying attention, some stuff looked good. Other stuff was like, this is not right. These arms and hands don't work like arms and hands work. But it was giving you a hint of things to come. And it's not going to be far off before you can punch something into an AI and generate your own film. And I worry, like, what do you do when you have people like Neil Breen and the guy who did Birdemic, or this shitty, what's that terrible Asylum production house who produced like Sharknado and crap like that. What do you do? You know, uh, when people like that who are and studios like who are clearly terrible, who are just bad, will then be able to have the power to punch something into AI and say, "Oh, this is a film I created," but it's all AI, and all you've actually done is just punched in prompts with really no effort. And the worry about not having effort put in to your creation, other than just typing in a few prompts, is that it takes skill. So not only does it take a lot of different skills to make a film, it takes a lot of different skills to write a book. And writing a book is very different to editing a book, is very different to marketing a book. Um, is very different to cover design. All of these are individuals who play a small part in the production of this piece of entertainment. And if you're erasing that human component, that element of skill that is required, what does that say about writing? What does that say about these skills that we use, that we need to produce good stories? Are they just going to go away? Are we literally just going to get um this Toy Story 9, the final chapter? Is that what's going to happen? Some AI is going to write some ridiculous nonsense story about the toys fighting an evil force that's going to destroy the world. I mean, there we go. Frank, Millie Bobby Brown, her book comes out September 12th. Phew, it's not her fucking book. She didn't write it. She's just a marketing tool. She's she, you know she claims that it's her family's story, that it's some aunt of hers or some crap like that in World War II. But you know what? There World War II historical fiction clogs the shelf of the historical fiction aisle. It's so boring. It's so overdone. It's just Brits, because everything was coming down here. It's a big deal, and it's very easy to mine that bit of history. But it's like, what does Millie Bobby Brown have to do with she's not even writing the story. She probably told the writer a few bits about her family history, and that was it. And now she's being listed as it's her book, and she's so excited for her book to come out. Well, you didn't write the book. You didn't write the book, sweetheart. So go home and play with your Stranger Thing toys, because you're not an author. Go away. It's so frustrating. That's a separate topic. That would have fit last week when I was ranting about debuts being frustrated about their stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of problems, I think, with AI, and I absolutely get why people are nervous and frustrated, and particularly why the guild is like, no, this is not good. And then you said, like I said, you have those kind of flippant comments of people on Twitter who just really don't understand what the writing process is like. One individual on Twitter who I saved their tweet, said that, was talking about the writer strike, and said the problem with the strike is that they really need is they sorry, the problem with the writer strike is they really need people to not find out how easy writing is. And at that point, I'm already fuming. Like, I'm already, like, smoke is coming out from underneath my collar here. He says there's just this flat thing with a bunch of buttons, um, on it, with letters on the buttons, and all you do is push those all day, and you're a writer. Now, I think he's being serious. I think he's being serious and flippant, but uh, if unless if he is being sarcastic and jokey, fine. But it seems like a weird thing to say. It seems like, you know, I don't know, but it's also very, it's kind of a smack in the face to real writers. It's not that easy. The effort, the amount of work and effort that goes into producing a piece of quality writing, is far more taxing than just punching the buttons on your keyboard. So whatever. Um, but it thing is, I totally get why there's a strike. I understand both sides of the argument a little bit. I get why people like, well, yeah, but your Hollywood movies suck at the moment, so why shouldn't AI take over? But the problem, what we really need to be thinking about is how do we improve our writing? How do we improve the stories that are being told, both in books, in TV, and film? Not, well, it's not working now, so let's just, screw all of the writers and give it to chatbots, because that's going to produce just soulless bullshit. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's my rant. That's really all I had to say. I don't think in general. I would like to think in general that AI will not take over all of our jobs. But we'll see. We'll see. I don't know. Anyone in the chat have any questions? Anything you want to ask? Anything you want to say? Anything at all? Let me know. Let me know. Because otherwise, I am probably going to wrap up here. They took our jobs. Exactly, like the South Park guys. They took our jobs. AI took his job. Yeah, exactly that. Exactly that. I mean, the thing is I know a lot of people think the writer's life is like really cushy and really easy, and it's all about, there's a lot of fantasy about what the writer's life is like. But that fantasy is just really seen only in films and TV shows and in badly written books. It's not a great life. It's not a great life. It can be, but the road to success is paved with blood, sweat, and tears, and a lot of rejection and a lot of disappointment. But there we are. There we are. So anyway, I don't know when I'll be back. Maybe next week. Depends on if I have a kid by then. Like I said, the wife is pregnant. Due any second. Could have happened during this show. But yeah. I might, maybe I can come. I don't know. Does anyone want to hear me rant about Star Trek Discovery and why I'm not enjoying watching it? I mean, I could talk about it. I don't know if people want to hear about it. I could talk about Succession. No, I'm probably going to save that. I don't think people here really care about Succession. The second one. No, I only have one wife, Frank. I only have one. I couldn't handle two. That'd be insane. A live baby countdown, like, I mean, well, yeah, sure. We can. I don't even know how to do that, but what, like on here, like a live baby countdown on here, where I just sit here and have a countdown going until. I mean, the thing is, you never know when it's going to come. That's the problem. The baby could come tomorrow, or it could come towards the end of the month. It's literally just a crazy waiting game. Crazy waiting game. It's absolutely. Yeah, it's not frustrating, but it's like I'm just ready. Just be here. Just happen now. Just happen. But yeah. Exactly. What's it waiting for? What's the kid waiting for? Like, we got everything. We got your beds. We've got your diapers. We've got everything. We've got everything ready. You can come now. It's time. Exactly. Do I need to give it an invite? Oh man, what really went through my head I can't say. It would not be appropriate for the YouTubes, probably not. But yeah, Dune Part 2. Frank, are you excited for Dune Part 2? I saw the trailer today, and I didn't care. I didn't like the first one. I don't think I'm a Dune guy. I think that's the thing. I'm not a Dune guy. I think I like some of the concepts, but I don't think I'm a Dune guy. The trailer did nothing to excite me. Um, eh. Oh, you've never seen it? Okay. All right. Okay. Well, you're not missing much, in my opinion. Um, Frank, are you back this? Are you back with your show? Are you back this Sunday? Bring back the round glasses, huh? Why? Why should I bring back the round glasses? They're right here. They're right here. There they are. No show on. Oh no, that's right. You have a pre-recorded show coming out, don't you? Is that this Sunday, or am I getting that mistaken? Anyway, go follow I Want My TV Now's channel because he has great content. He has great guests, and it's a lot of fun, and I enjoy it. I'm just always sad that it's on at a time where it's quite late. Um, you're recording a show for June. June. Okay. Are you doing anything this month, or are you chilling? Are you taking some time to chill? Chill. Nice to see you. Yeah. What's the story? What's the story? Um. Other than that, what else is going on? I don't know. I don't know. Oh, you're okay. You're back next week. All right, that's good. That's good. I look forward to that. Yeah, yeah, you do. That's good luck. I know that's frustrating. I know that can be tough. That can be tough. That can be tough. Um, yeah, I've got some cool. Yeah, like I said, May is going to be pretty up and down. I don't really know what my shows will be or when they'll be. Um, Well, I'm glad. I'm glad you're feeling back to yourself. That makes me happy to hear. I'm pleased for you, sir. Um, yeah, I've got some cool stuff coming up in June. I've got I think I mentioned it last week. I got a bunch of crime writers coming on my podcast next month because it's crime reading month in the UK. But in addition to that, I would happily do a show on a Sunday this month. Uh, you tell me when you're free and we can do that because I mean nothing is really planned at the moment. I'm just literally just waiting around. I'm working and then just waiting around for baby. So yeah, I would be up for that. But yeah, I'm free pretty much any time in the evenings and stuff. So I can do a as in I can do a late one. Like if you want to do one like super late my time to be like evening your time, I can even do that. So we can chat about that because I'm up for doing something that would be fun. Um, but June is tricky because I also want to see the Flash for you, Frank, Lynn, and I also want to see Indiana Jones. There's a part of me that wants to see Beast Machines, not Beast Machines, Beast. It's not even Beast Wars. Transformers: Rise of the Beasts because I'm a big fan of Beast Wars. I love Beast Wars growing up. That I think though that's that 3 season show is just phenomenal. The story arc is it sticks with me. Like I think about those characters often. They're even behind me. They're even behind me. Oh, you can't really see because of this. Yeah, they are. There's some Beast guys. Um, yeah, no, I'm kind of I kind of think the film looks okay. I'll say okay. I don't want to say like great because what do I mean by great? Great for what it is, maybe. It looks fun. It looks fun. We'll go with fun. But yeah, I kind of want to see but the problem is I'm not going to be able to see all of those films in June because I've got all these other shows and I've got baby at that point. But I'll definitely try and see Indiana Jones and the Flash because I think I need to. I think I gotta keep my pop culture listeners happy. I think if it's just writing stuff, that might that might lose lose a few people. I hope not, but you never know. You never know. So I want to keep the pop culture people happy and talk about some of these films. I'm very skeptical of Indiana Jones. Really skeptical of that. I don't think there's a lot of things I don't like about that already. So the film itself will need to win me over. It's yeah. Well, we will see. We will see. Anyway, well, unless there's any other comments from the chat, from Frank or others listening, if you're listening and you're afraid to say something in the chat, don't be afraid. I don't bite hard. But otherwise, I think I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go. It's 9 o'clock. It's 9 o'clock. I'm an old man. It's time for me to go to bed. No, I'm not really gonna go to bed, but I think I'm gonna go. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, listening to me ramble about a little bit about writer's strike, what I think has been ridiculous, what was ridiculous in the Alliance of Motion Pictures rejections, what I think was quite reasonable in the Writers Guild's requests, and rambling about the will AI take over or will it not, and what I think the problems of the potential problems of leaning too heavily into writing with AI or allowing AI to replace the human writer. It's like AI will never become Star Trek the motion picture. It will never become V'ger, right? It will never, V'ger's big thing was V'ger wanted to find its creator and you know learn, is this all that I am? What is V'ger? But then eventually he merges with his creator and a new sort of, I don't know, robotic, sentient, humanish life emerges somewhere, and the human adventure is just beginning. Artificial intelligence, that I don't think is going to happen. That stuff is never going to be. It's never going to be V'ger. But there we go. Might be Blade Runner. We're heading more towards a Blade Runner than anything else. More real than, more human than human. Will be our future. And it will be hard to tell, but you will be able to tell. Anywho, thanks for listening, everyone. I will see you when I see you. Enjoy your week, enjoy your night, enjoy your day. If you haven't, please like and subscribe. Share this podcast with your friends, or don't. But I would be grateful if you did. Anyway, I will see you all when I see you. Adios.